Congratulations. The premiere has happened. Was that your first time seeing it with an audience?
Yeah, it was. Oh no, we'd seen it.
Ish. How did it feel to be like with a big crowd, seeing it on the big screen and getting that experience?
Yeah, amazing energy in the room. Very, very exciting. Yeah.
So and I was just talking to Philippa, and of course she's an old hand at doing red carpet premieres in London, many of them. But for you guys, this is, a newish experience, I would say. How did it feel? Was it just like the whole red carpet and the buzz? And
different for me, so interesting, because I have been to a lot of these, but on the absolute opposite side of things. I always got to sort of just shuffle along behind people.
Yeah.
And so the very different experience, people, wanting to ask you questions and things. So, yeah.
To be honest, I actually didn't feel like a usual film event. It was sort of friends and family. I mean, there was so many cast and crew there. I actually didn't feel like a film event at all. It felt like sort of like a family gathering. I mean, it really was. I remember sort of going up the stairs. I was like, oh, this is one of the few times where I actually know people at a film event, and I wasn't sort of hiding in the corner, sort of pretending I wasn't there. It was really nice. It was really, really nice.
And I think that's one of the nice things about the Tolkien fandom, that it does feel like family and friends. And obviously, in your cases, it is family and friends. But we all feel like we're getting together with family and old friends.
Or even that night in New York was exactly like that. I mean, I didn't know anyone there, but it was walking into a sort of a family and friend party for sure.
Yeah, there's a warmth and a sort of familiarity in the good sense, So I have seen the film and loved it. And one of the things that I wanted to congratulate you both on as the writers is there was never a moment in the script for me that like pulled me out of that world. And that maybe sounds a bit like damning with faint praise, but so often these days when you're watching something, there'll be a line that feels too modern or it just doesn't feel quite right. Yeah. And I felt that you guys really lived in the language, and I don't mean in an old English or whatever, but the sort of stylistically, it felt true at all times. Nice use of whom in places,
Oh, good.
But were there other sources beyond Tolkien that you went to help sort of feel what the tonality of the language needed to be?
I mean, he's a master of language. I mean, I don't honestly. I don't. I mean, there probably was some Old English and a few things like that we sort of turned to. But in terms of style, I mean, who better than to sort of be lost in those books? I mean, there's sort of a masterclass in language, aren't there?
Well, and Phil, Fran, Peter.
That's a whole different
Those are Rolodex of,
Sure.
ask them anything, and then does this feel right? Does that feel right? And you just have them on hand. It's probably lazy to do, but it was just our go-to, obviously.
But also, I think just the way in which, we were talking about dialogue specifically, the way in which we were sort of there during most of the recording with the actors, if something did feel out of place, everyone was
which did happen a couple of times.
Yeah, everyone was very comfortable with trying things out, changing things up, and it was sort of a little bit by committee at times.
It's always different when you hear it spoken by the actor in the room. So there were those few moments where we did do kind of on the fly alterations, working with the actors.
That's interesting, because that was actually going to be my next question for you, was how much did you find yourselves writing once you knew who an actor was, like sort of the character grew because of them, and you were sort of writing for their voice as well?
It was a great experience because we did have opportunity to do that. The only one that we knew going into it, because Philippa had said when we created the character of Olwen, she said, God, it'd be amazing. Can't you think of someone like Lorraine Ashford? And we just instantly went, oh my God. So we were writing for her. And we were so lucky that she then said yes, because it was tailor-made for her. But then, we were still doing rewrites after the casting took place. So there were those moments. And honestly, the like with Gaia, it was just so incredible. And she just had her 25th birthday last night. And she came onto this when she was, 22? But
20,
her stepping in the booth, sort of 3 or 4 times, I think she got in the booth. And each time she really helped to shape the character, really developed things herself as she grew, which was just so awesome to see.
And also Yazdan, I mean, I remember Hama was always a sweet role, but after that first time we heard Yazdan's sort of Hama, we really wanted to sort of amp.
Bilal.
Bilal's Leaf. He was another one who
little tweaks to his
truly
character,
shaped his character,
and he, he brought a lot of that himself.
And then there's Mr. Cox. So I mean, the moment we sort of knew that he was going to be voicing Helm, it was sort of like, right, okay, we can sort of
that gave
play some of these one-liners pretty
He would get them off the page. We were like, hey, this is going to, we're in safe hands. He's going to be able to do this.
Yeah, you can do something pretty epic.
Yeah.
Well, also, Sean Dooley as Frecker, like,
yes.
that day was one of the highlights of the entire thing, and sort of the energy he brought to it. And we couldn't wait till we were able to get Brian's side of that, because we were just like, wow, Sean's hit this out of the park. Like, this is going to be a battle of titans.
Yeah.
And it was. It feels like that, I think.
One of the things that struck me watching it was when they, when basically Helm asked him to step outside. And I was like, oh, this is the equivalent of like, are you starting outside? And yet it's very Shakespearean, or, but it's, and that's what I mean by that. At no time did the language stray into anything that didn't feel true to the scene and the people. Even when it sort of was resonating like, oh, this is a pub brawl, or,
And that's because that part in particular is lifted straight from Tolkien.
Yeah.
He does not brawl in his home.
We're also sort of heavily influenced by sort of real historical dynamics between these types of people. So, yeah.
Was there anything that you found a limitation when you were first writing the story and turning it into a script? Was there anything that you wanted to do, and because it was an animated movie, you were like, oh, that's not actually going to work in anime?
There were a few things. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Certain animals, I think, were harder for them, like birds and things like that. There was a moment where we were talking about seeing a whole ton of messenger birds trying to get out, like sort of thoughts like that. But, they really had to choose when and where to spend their animation power. And so there were definitely conversations like that took place that kind of helped shape how far we could go with certain moments that maybe we wanted to push. But it was all just an enormous collaboration, and that's as with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the pragmatic side of it, we really approached it sort of not worrying too much, whether it was anime or animation or live action. I think we were sort of more focused on making sure the story and the world felt as real and as sort of entertaining is the wrong word, but sort of tense, emotional, as possible. So that's how we really approached it, and sort of whether it could work or not was a problem for producers.
Yeah, right. So better way to put it. You've got the other way around, that now you're writing for what's going to be live action, and so then you could have the opposite issue of things that could be done in anime that you're like, oh no, now this has got to be, So, but same approach, that you just let that be someone else's problem.
For us, 100%. Always, but it's always
the story's got to serve everything.
It's always story driven. Yeah. That's the only thing that we need to worry about. The only thing we need to focus on.
And I mean, we're not surrounded by slouches. So I mean, I'm sure Pete and
if you can imagine it, they'll make it happen. Honestly.
I mean, if there's a power of three there, I mean, they've got some serious sort of technical chops behind them. I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out.
So, a question about the plot of this one. You brought in the eagles.
Yep.
And of course, eagles, that is a question in Tolkien fandom that ranks up there almost with, do Balrogs have wings? Like, why didn't they just get the eagle to take the ring, right? And you actually had the courageous act of having an eagle do something to move the plot forward, which is, as I say, that's always the question, why didn't the eagles, why didn't they? Did that feel courageous? Did you have any sense of trepidation of like, oh, should we use the eagles as the Deus Ex Machina at this point? How did you approach that?
That was a thought from, I think, Philippa or Kamiyama. I'm not sure where that idea originated. We definitely saw the value in it, and what we really wanted to do, though, was focus on here is approach to that, and here is connection to that moment. Because using it as a storytelling device is one thing, but it's how you treat it. And we really wanted to make sure that she had a great respect for, and in her character and in and of herself, she has this sort of lovely wonder of the natural world. And that partly was because we knew that there was this storytelling drive with the Eagles, so it kind of all one beget the other.
We really wanted that moment to feel natural and earned and not in there for to save the day type thing. So it was embedded. We tried to embed the energy of that moment from the very beginning of the movie, and it actually is in the very beginning of the movie. So we really we were very aware of making that moment feel earned or feel right and sort of enveloped in her story as well, I guess.
And have her at the mercy of these creatures, at the majesty of these creatures, that's how we approached it, yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, I think it worked. Yeah. I just was like, oh, wow, this is a bold step,
Yeah, I mean, you end up going to be a meme or something, like another eagle. But no,
we saw the value in it, though. We did, and so for us, really, it was all about how do we then make this feel earned, as Arty says, and make it feel correct to Hera's character. That's an action that she would take, an action she would think of. We saw it as, okay, the messenger birds aren't getting out. Well, there's one that could. So that was her.
Yeah.
There's one that they're not going to be able to shoot down,
Yeah. Perfect. So this is sort of a bit out of left field because it's probably just coming from my personal take when I was watching it. But, spoiler alert, did you ever, in that final showdown between Wolf and Hera, great moment, I really thought for a moment she was going to get killed. I thought that was going to happen. And then I was like, I wondered if you ever thought that might be an ending to your movie, that the main character, we hear her story and her story concludes within this film. Was that ever a possibility?
We should have got you in the writer's room. That's a pretty good idea. Maybe we should have.
It wasn't one for me. No, I had to have her survive. I wanted one of them to live. I mean, we needed that sort of legacy, I think, and so that wasn't a thought that crossed my mind.
I'm not sure if that would have felt quite Tolkien to me. You sort of want to end on hope. I mean, his sort of story sort of, there's a great hope at the heart of his work, and I think if we'd gone down that sort of tragic road, to me at least, it wouldn't have felt quite right. It would have taken some of that sort of magic of his messaging out of the film, I think.
That eucatastrophe moment that, here's something good coming at the end.
We've been trying to be gritty for the sake of it, perhaps, as opposed to sort of staying true to sort of more sort of classic Tolkien storytelling. Yeah.
Well, one way or the other, when I was watching it, for a moment I thought, they're going to kill her.
That's good.
Coming.
I mean, that's shaping
I
a
think
scene.
you owe that to Kamiyama.
Yeah. That's a good note.
Yeah.
Good. And so, how's it going with the next project?
It's a dream, really.
And it is extremely fun. I mean, Andy is just one of the most brilliant people that you'll ever meet, truly, and the most genuine. And he is so open and so collaborative and just a joy, honestly. Yeah. So now we've been able to work with Lorraine. And now we're getting to work with Andy. It's so cool for us.
I mean, there was a moment, I'm not sure if it was just before or just after we spoke at Comic-Con, but yeah, there was a moment where we were sort of sitting down and it was Pete, Fran, Phil and Andy around the table and we're discussing Gollum. And it was just like, it was one of those sort of what is happening moments.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. But you're part of this now. So, like in 15 years, it might be some other young person coming in and saying, I sat down with and Arty and Phoebe were there. And, you're woven into the fabric of this legacy now. Yeah. Do you get a break at all with the holidays, or are you straight back to hard at work in the writer's room?
Straight back.
But we wouldn't want it any other way, really.
No,
I mean, I'm sure we'll be allowed a Christmas.
Yes. Yep.
And we'll be allowed a feast at Hobbiton.
But we'll probably be reading stuff over Christmas. I mean, it's truly such a joy for us, and we're right kind of in the thick of it now. So it's nice to have momentum. You don't really want to drop it when you've got it going. So
one of the other really cool things we've got to do on this trip was go to Oxford.
Oh, nice! Is that the first time that you've been there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, we've been, before. But not like this. This was like this was, because Philippa did a speech there, or did a
At
talk.
Merton College with a panel of Tolkien scholars.
And some of the scholars showed us around, and it was that was a very special day. And then we did a few side trips as well.
Yeah.
Barrow Downs and a few other things.
Stones. Yeah.
So no, it's actually been really cool.
Good.
Even on our days off, we've actually been sort of entrenched in sort of Tolkien,
immersed in the world of Tolkien.
Inspo hunting.
Literally. So no, we're fully in it at the moment.
Oh, good. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I love the film, and
It means a lot.
can't wait to see the next one.
Yay! Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, thank you so much.